and welcome to the West Grinton Players performance of Pandemically Speaking, Reflections of 2020. My name is John Sinclair, and I am the stage manager of the West Players. One casting note, due to circumstances out of our control, a cast member could not make it to the performance tonight, so the Black Lives Matter piece will be performed by a West Grinton alum. Please silence all electronic devices and remain seated throughout the entire performance because it will be filmed. Also, please keep your masks over your face correctly for the show's entirety. It is Scranton School District regulation. Now I ask you to please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
without hair and confused but happy dogs, with porches kept company and daily visits from Amazon Prime boxes. A year of 6 feet apart, and no bar stools, and black market hand sanitizer. And no live music. A year of not being able to gather and to celebrate or to mourn. A year of sweating rents and flooded up businesses and people passing judgment and being assholes to each other. A year of picking people when they're up and then kicking them when they're down. A year that's been like shining a sudden light in that dark corner and not one to find out but just scurried away. A year of reminding yourself that this thing really took John Prime. And a year of Fauci stifling giggles from the absurdity of it all, and our former one-term president suggesting that we drink bleach, and science be risking to the scout teams. A year of propaganda, and memes, and grown-ups not being able to grasp the concept of a baby's diaper. A year that we all staggered into by watching the Tiger King, which should have been some type of cosmic warning, but I guess we missed it. A year of one step forward and 2 steps back. A year of too many people pissing in the pool. A year of sickness and death and life somehow finding a way. A year none of us want to remember, but we will never forget.
I saw her. Inauguration Day. She looked like me. She looked like any of us. She's beautiful. Amanda Gorman. And they said she's a poet. I think the world needs more poets. And then she said it. A skinny black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother can dream of becoming president or find herself reciting for one. And you know what? There's lots to cry about these days, but this seemed the perfect opportunity for me. So I cried with joy. And last night I told my mom, I want to be a poet. And she said, well, what do poets make? And I said, history. And she said, that's not what I meant. And I know what she meant. But my grandfather told me one time, he said, sweetheart, get a job where you'll never have to look at the clock and you'll be rich enough. I want to use words like she uses words. I don't want to hurt people with them. I want my words to be like a hand extended. This isn't like the poetry in school, the 4 lines that were on the moon and soon and whatever. They're written by guys who've been dead for 1 million years. After the last 4 years, I felt like the language was dead. Killed by 1,000 insects. Murdered by tweets. Mangled by casual pointing. And so to hear her words, it was like our own insurrection. And she looked like me. In 4 years, that could be me up there. And maybe the next president will look like me.
Adults in the room now. I feel like I know them, even though that's impossible. I had to visit there's the same guy who used to run to catch the train every night to get home to his kids. I don't need to know much more about him than the fact that he did this. Our president walked the same streets and breathed the same air that we did, which is pretty cool. We're better than most, I think, but not as good as we could be. Scrappy is a good word. It's good on t-shirts. If you want a friend in Washington, get a dog. The president is too. Well, Major's kind of in and out, I guess. Clean them. Imagine the bad juju in the White House. I'd be snarling at anybody who came with the place, too. How broken must you be to think you could do this job without a dog?
my heart stopped. But they were on our side. They were chanting for George Floyd. They were chanting, "I can't breathe." And they had automatic weapons and pistols strapped to their chests. The world on its head. And there was an elderly couple on their porch. He didn't look too friendly, and I expected some fingers. We got two, but they were both from his wife. Quick peace sign. She flashed it to us when he wasn't looking. And we returned it in unison. And then she smiled. So did we. And by the time he looked back towards us, she was scowling again. No one interfered. We came and we said what we had to say. And once again, I was reminded that things can bend sometimes without breaking. And so, Chauvin was found guilty. Guilty of committing murder before the cameras. And even then, even when we were waiting on the verdict, my boyfriend still held his breath. He still couldn't breathe. And now, what wakes him up in the middle of the night wakes me up too. That's what love is. He's tired. Are you?
It's not an SOS that I take you. SSRIs, I'm doing alright. Always just fine. Check the ball summer without a sing song. Gets catalog. Living my loving
It was April. Everything was shutting down. The streets were deserted. Cars were being pulled over to be out past 8. Schools are going virtual. My parents are trying to find a place where they can work from home. And there's no toilet paper. And my boss is texting me every 8 seconds, asking if I can work double. And I'm like, wait, what? My ass is making minimum wage. First time in my life I'm ever essential. And I mean, it's nice, I guess, to be recognized. It just feels as though my essentialness, is that a word? Well, it is now. I mean, it would be greatly enhanced in my own mind if they paid me more essential wage. But still, those hospitals and grocery stores, that was pretty much it. And I'm not a doctor, so you need us to stock it, you need us to restock it, you need us to pay for it. And this was before masks. I mean, remember in the beginning it was, you don't need a mask. And it was, don't be so selfish wearing that mask. Doctors and EMTs, they don't have enough. Finally, it was like, you don't have a mask, you can't come in. Which was practically an invitation to the Patriot Boys to make maskless, lecture me about freedom and rights. Now, I was also asked to provide strong law enforcement tools. So here we are, holding the umbrella in a down. Because you're not wet, you're pretending it's not raining. But still, I was asked to risk my life. For you guys to cook burgers on the grill. And most of you were coming through my line wearing the mask with the purpose to prop up your nose. Or worse, to cover your chin. Eventually, we took it to the plastic period. Anything to feed the illusion that we're not playing Russian roulette here. But still, But sure, it was nice while it lasted. At our store, only 7 of us got COVID. Only 1 died. Not bad for minimum wage, right?
Smarter than members of Congress. And yet, here we are. I don't want to mention any names, because sometimes I lose track of them. But can we talk about the Jewish space lasers? I mean, just for a minute. A member of Congress stated that wildfires in California are not natural. Forests don't just catch fire on their own, despite, millions of years of evidence to the contrary. But whatever. Recent California wildfires were started by a Jewish space laser. A Jewish space laser. Now, I'm not entirely sure of the difference between, say, a Jewish space laser and an Islamic space laser. And are Catholics in the space laser business? Whatever. It sounds a little odd. When you place it side by side with the Satan-worshipping pedophile ring run out of a Washington, D.C. pizza shop basement by Hillary Clinton and Tom Hanks, you might start thinking to yourself, Jewish space lasers. I can see it. And that's how it works. You normalize being dumb. You start it dumb, and it sort of just bounces off the 24-hour news wall, and chasing it is like climbing a mountain to punch an echo. Pretty soon, you can't be bothered. Then you just get dumber. And pretty soon, it's not even news anymore. And when the former one-term president of the United States suggests raking the forest to combat the Jewish space lasers, or nuking hurricanes to stop storms, or putting out the Notre Dame cathedral fires with flying water tankers, or drinking bleach to cure COVID, everybody just kind of yawns, and a billion more brain cells die. And everybody keeps telling me I need to go to college, and I'm like, why? Because these people went to college too. I mean, maybe that's where they learned about Jewish space lasers. We've always been taught, respect our elders. And then they start going off about Jewish space lasers? You see what I mean? Whenever I fail a test in school, and I start to feel really bad about myself, I go on Facebook and read the comments to WNEP posts. Like injecting yourself with heroin, right into the bloodstream it goes, and suddenly, I'm not so dumb after all. But at least I have a good litmus test for boys. Good looking. I like dark hair. I don't want them to be shorter than me. I like dark eyes. They need to offer to open the car door. They need to come in and get me, not summon me with the horn. They need to be solidly behind the Free Britney movement. They need to like AC/DC. And I need to know where they stand on Jewish space lasers.
I saw your dad on TV. My phone was blowing up with messages.
Hey, I saw your dad on TV.
Why was my dad on TV? Mom! Why was Dad on TV? I heard her downstairs. Oh, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph!
Joseph was saved for special occasions. She did what she always did when she started to lose her mind. She ran to church, which only makes her crazy. She becomes convinced she's going to hell because she married a guy who's convinced Hillary Clinton is running a pedophile ring out of the basement of a Washington, D.C. pizza parlor, and that Bill Gates is trying to microchip us all through a fake vaccine. Honestly, if there was a hell, she'd probably have a legitimate concern. But I guess you can't help who you fall in love with. And my dad wasn't always this crazy. It all kind of snuck up on him once me and my sister taught him how to use a computer. Bad move. Don't ever teach your dad how to use a computer. He'd be on there half the night after foaming at the mouth watching Fox News for 3 hours. He'd call us over. Did you see this? I rolled my eyes so many times I knocked out the top of my head. And we never had a pickup truck before because there's 5 of us. But he got one anyway because he couldn't hang his flags from the Toyota Corolla. Wearing a mask was never an issue for me and my sister and my brother because we'd be hiding our faces anytime he piled us into that horrible thing. Blasting that proud to be an American song with the windows wide open while we cowered, hoping our friends weren't around. He came to one of my basketball games wearing one of those red MAGA hats, and everybody looked at me like I had just farted too loud. The house is filled with my pillows. He never told us he was going in the morning. He must have told my mom, but she didn't say anything to us. She must have been holding her breath the entire time, hoping the entire thing would be a bust. And there he was, face painted red, white, and blue, doing an interview on CNN, wearing a sweatshirt from my high school, standing next to a guy wearing a Viking helmet, and another guy who forgot to take off his employee ID badge right before being swept away and crawling through a broken window into the Capitol building, giving America a long glimpse of the crack of his ass. A tweet containing the video has now been shared over 1 million times. I just texted my mom, and she's still at church. She's mapping out a PR trend. I asked if she would want me to bring her pizza and a beer, but she never answered. Dad seems oblivious to it all. He's currently on his way home, stuck in Beltway traffic. I don't have the heart to tell him he's gone viral. Or at least a part of him has.
This photo from the January 6th riots. Lawmakers were crouching behind desks on the floor, barricading doors, trying to keep what was outside from getting in. It came out later that they were calling their loved ones, their wives, kids, husbands, telling them that they love them, because it could have been the last time. I kept thinking, maybe, just maybe, they'll finally understand. They'll get it after all this. A lot of things cannot thrive in a pandemic. There's no virtual school shootings. For us kids, we got used to seeing scenes like this. It was like a fire drill. It was almost like we practiced it. It's like we were stuck in a circle. Every time it would happen, that circle would get a lot smaller and smaller and smaller. And it goes, it won't happen here, to why hasn't it happened yet? Then that day comes, and you hear that pop. Now, I don't know what I expected a gun to sound like, but initially it's like a kid's birthday party. Everyone is attacking at the balloons. That's not the sound that gets you. It's the screams that follow. When we heard them, we didn't know where they were coming from. 2 rooms away, 3 rooms away, that could have been a freshman classroom. But our teacher that day was Mrs. Nelson. And she's 25 and she weighs around 120 pounds. But she was able to push her own desk by herself to bar that door shut. She just told us all to get down, and she did it as cool as if she was redecorating. She covered the window on the door, and she turned off all the lights. Then she went to the back of the classroom and pulled out a baseball bat, marched right back up to the door, and while she waited there, she was singing, "You Are My Sunshine." We were a lot more amazed than scared at that moment. I went up, I looked it up later because all this stuff is public. Guess that's a reason why they call it public school. But she only makes $22,000 a year. That's less than a full-time greeter at Walmart. She has a small little baby at home, and she's one of the biggest badasses on the planet. The night before the school opened up, she stood outside meeting all the parents, some good and some not so good. But now here she was, armed with a Louisville Slugger, willing to die for each of us. Because that's part of her job description. It's what's expected of her. And she didn't flinch. How messed up am I? Anyways, those same politicians who were crowding behind the desk, a few days later, they were told that they had to go through a metal detector. The same kind that we have to go through every morning. And they refused. Mrs. Nelson is still here today. She comes in singing, and she hasn't missed a day. You can have them. I'll take her.
Because guys in khakis carrying tiki torches and swastikas are not very fine people. You know who is very fine people? Me! It's not that hard. If somebody falls down, do you help them back up? If you do that, you're welcome in my gang. And there's no dress code. I want to love and be loved and never hate anything I do not understand. I want to vote in every election and give to every fundraiser and build an extra room off my house for the dogs that nobody wants. I want to be proud of myself, and I want you to be proud of me because we're in this together. I don't want to ever be the person who refuses to wear a mask in the midst of a pandemic. Should I say hi to her? Should I say hi to him? Should I volunteer my time? Should I buy the ticket and take the ride? Should I stop the car and help? Yes! You should! You don't want to be old with no stories to tell. I don't want to be young with no stories to tell. I want to go to bed exhausted and wake up refreshed. I don't want it to be a late day for regrets. I want to devour entire libraries and regurgitate them back on memories. I want to always be in charge of the radio, even when I'm not driving. I want to win without crowing and lose without pouting. I don't expect things to change if I'm not willing to. I wouldn't expect you to walk a path I haven't already traveled. When you shiver, I feel cold. When you hurt, I cry. In order to feel connected, we need to learn how to feel. Every day, we should learn. We should laugh. And we should be moved to tears. Every day, we should stop living in our own heads. Stop thinking that we don't matter, that we can't make a difference. Because you do. You can. Hold that door open, or offer to carry that bag, or sit at the table with the kid who's alone. Stop conforming and stop expecting others to conform. Just wonder. It's more fun. And don't take the freeway. The back roads are more fun. Because I guarantee you will meet more interesting people there.
Mm-hmm.